I spent the summer of 2010 studying abroad in Japan. The first leg of the journey was Boston to Toronto, and it was a piece of cake. The second leg was Toronto to Tokyo. Oof, it was an egregiously long time. And so I passed the time watching movies, eating, and stretching my legs on the way to the lavatory. Then I would sleep for a bit before repeating the cycle. To my astonishment, the woman sitting next to me only got up once during the entire flight. I forget if I complimented her on her bladder control or what, but somehow we struck up a conversation. Her name was Yumiko, and I was telling her about how I was going to be studying in Japan, and she was telling me about her family. She had mentioned that one of her sons worked for Nintendo, which perked my ears up since I'd always been a fan of Super Mario Brothers. After landing, we exchanged contact information and went our separate ways. I never imagined we would cross paths again, but our lovely chat inspired me to journal about it that evening. Now, as for Japan, it treated me very well. So many people and so many cool things to see. I made friends with the other students in my program, and I developed a core group. We would take the crowded subways together on our way to class, and we also visited many of the historical and tourist areas all around Tokyo. Now, at one point, I was searching for a really nice place to buy souvenirs, and I had the idea of reaching out to Yumiko, and she recommended a fabulous market where I found everything I needed. As I continued carrying on, relishing in my Japanese experience, Yumiko and I continued the email exchange. And to my surprise, she graciously offered to give me a guided tour of her local town, and I was pumped. After navigating the Tokyo subway system, I reached the station and set off towards Yumiko. I met up with Yumiko and her husband Yoshi. Yes, I know what you're thinking. In addition to her son working for Nintendo, her husband has the same name as a very popular character in the Super Mario Brothers universe. What are the odds? We stopped by Yumiko's home where we enjoyed a delicious traditional Japanese meal of Domino's pizza. Yumiko taught me how to place my shoes the Japanese way, which is always toes pointing towards the door. After a little photo shoot to commemorate the day, Yumiko and I set off on bicycles to see the sights. We biked all over, with her pointing out places of interest along the way. We visited a craft shop with gorgeous woodworking items for sale. She happened to be friends with the owner. She had another friend who owned an art studio that we stopped by, and another who owned an authentic Japanese hotel called a ryoka. Yumiko seemed to know everybody in her neighborhood. We ended the day at a restaurant where I ate the biggest crab I had ever seen. Before heading home, Yumiko gifted me a couple mementos, which continue to brighten up my home to this day. After leaving Japan, we stayed in touch. We've also had some reunions in the US when she was visiting. One time it was in New York City, and another time it was in Chicago. Yumiko is one of the most thoughtful people I have ever met, and I think of her as a mentor in many ways. She has such moxie, loves to travel, and her energy always makes her the center of attention. Yumiko inspired me to raise the stakes for having memorable adventures, which I continue to do to this day. And it just goes to show that you never know who you might be sitting next to. That's why you should always strike up a conversation to find out. For example, 4 years ago, I was on my way, flying to Mumbai, on my way to get married because my wife is from India. And the woman sitting next to me also happened to be married to someone from India. She was originally from Spain, where I had studied. And to top it off, she lives 15 minutes away from me. What are the odds of that? Well, you'll never know until you ask. Now, some of you may be nervous about engaging with a stranger, so I have a piece of advice. Offer your seatmate a piece of gum. It is a very low-risk maneuver you can try, and their response will signal whether or not to pursue the dialogue. It has worked for me every time. Of course, complimenting them on their bladder control, solid plan B. Now, as for me and Yumiko, I'm not sure when or where we'll next meet up. The only thing I do know is that I am positive it will be a wonderful time as always. Thank you.